Definitely a British game.
It's very much small.
No, you've got a board. It's a board.
Oh, I
Hey.
before you come under the wood, you go around. I thought that was a horseshoe. I do know what it is. I think that-
Okay. Got a mirror, right?
I think it's at the
Once
end.
a woman, ninth meeting.
Okay. Why isn't it?
Not mirror yet.
I don't know why. Let's try again.
Those aren't the ones that we watch, so.
Oh, it's gonna come. It's gonna come. Don't touch it. Don't touch it. Don't touch it. Don't touch it.
Lights on.
It's gonna come. I hope it's gonna come.
There's done.
The one
Leo is finished.
There we go.
Huh? Not finished. Like.
There we go. Okay. Right, we are ready to go. A good Erev Shabbos to everybody. Shkoyach for coming 35 minutes before Shabbos, not 35 minutes before candle lighting. We're going to start a new series just for Erev Shabbos participants and those who listen to it on Motzei Shabbos. We'll send it out after Shabbos. It's going to be called The Secret of the 39 Melachos of Shabbos. We know there's a lot of halacha that deals with the 39 prohibited activities, and there tends to be a negative reaction to it insofar as that people feel that it's just telling me what I can't do on Shabbos. But we're going to show you, I'm going to just hint to it at the end of the class. We're not going to get to any malachas today, but we're going to get to you an interesting part that will help us with our davening. And let's take a look. I'm going to just jump down to the fourth source. Tomorrow morning in Shachris Amida, the people who compiled the Siddur called the Shabbos CHEMDAS HAYOMIM OSO KARASA. CHEMDAS, that word chemda, it's a hard word to translate. From the English translation, I lifted off here. It says, most coveted of days you called it. Hashem, you called the Shabbos CHEMDAS HAYOMIM. You have at the Zmiros, CHEMDAS HAYOMIM Karo Kelitzur. That's for the daytime Zmiros. Hashem, you called Shabbos CHEMDAS HAYOMIM. So what does that mean, CHEMDAS HAYOMIM? Most coveted of days. So to help us understand this, there's a very fascinating Vilna Gaon in the Torah when it talks about how the trees started to sprout. And it says, Vayitzmach Hashem Elokim min Adama, Hashem caused to sprout from the ground. Kol eitz, all kinds of trees, nechmad limar'eh, nechmad, pleasing to the sight, v'tov lema'achol, and good for the eating. So we have two words, nechmad limar'eh, pleasing for the sight, v'tov lema'achol, and good for the eating. So what does that exactly mean? I mean, what's the Torah saying? That it looks nice, to my eyes it looks nice, and to eat it tastes good. So the Vilna Gaon says the following, Hahevdel ben milas tov lenechmad. What's the difference between the word tov and nechmad? So he says the following, Ki tov, the word tov, ne'amar bahaskama al tanuge agufani. Tov means you're like very satisfied and very happy in the physical sense. You eat it, it tastes good. It tastes good. It's a physical description of the tree, that it tastes good. The chemda, when you use the word chemda nemar, it's always said al oneg haruchani. We're talking about a spiritual delight. That's what the word chemda is about, spiritual delight. And then when you talk about kinyane hamedumos, when we talk about apparent acquisitions that people get, for example, lahasig osher v'chavod, people want to get wealth and honor v'yakor. But on the other hand, v'chemda, but chemda, he shisha yados. You're going to see what this means. It's 6 hands. V'tov hu chelek echov is 1 portion. Kamo sheishes yemai hamasa, during the 6 days of the week that you work, Ha'adam rodef achar kinyanim hameduma. People run after apparent acquisitions. Hon, yakor, limtzo. He's trying to find wealth and beautiful things. For Shabbos, so I couldn't figure out what this stands for. But ha'oneg. But Shabbos is the oneg. Lihis aneg be'achila v'shisiya. To delight in the eating, the drinking. V'tziva lanu Hashem yisbarach. And Hashem commanded us lihis aneg be'achila v'shisiya. To delight in eating and drinking. V'hu kodesh. Kamoshu ochla karbanos. And it's holy like eating karbanos. L'chein, therefore, milas nechmad. If you look at the gematria of nechmad, is 102. And 102 is what? 6 times tov. Take the word tov, right? Every day it says in the 6 days of creation, Vayar Elokim ki tov. It was tov. Well, Monday didn't have it. You had 2 for Tuesday to make up for it. Okay.
That's why they had the 2 for Tuesday.
Right. That's right. 2 for Tuesday special. So, but it was tov. But Shabbos, it's not tov. Shabbos is not tov. Shabbos is nechmad. It means there's a spiritual pleasure to it. We'll see more what this 6 times tov equals nechmad is all about. But that's the idea that Shabbos is called CHEMDAS. It's called a spiritual pleasure. Let's take a look at another example. How about when we bench tonight? In the second bracha, we'll say, "No delecha Hashem Elokeinu." We give thanks to Hashem al shinchalta lavosenu that you bequeathed to our forefathers a land that is Eretz Chemda, Tova, Urachava. Again, desirable, good, and spacious. So what does it mean? Same idea. Tov, the land of Eretz Yisrael, is physically pleasing. You could sit on the couch here. Is a physically pleasing land. The fruits taste good, but it's also chemda. It provides a spiritual pleasure. Similarly, when we talk about Torah, the Gemara in Avodah Zarah says, "Ein tov ela Torah." When it talks about tov, it means Torah. As we say in the Shabbos davening, "Ki lekav tov nasati lochem." There's a good portion I have given to you. So Torah is tov. But on the other hand, when Moshe wanted to come down from Har Sinai to get the Torah, the Malachim did not want to give him the Torah. And what did the angels say? Chemda genuza, shegenuza la teisha meos v'shivim v'arba doras koshevam. A special treasure that you have already hidden for 974 generations. You plan on giving it to flesh and blood. Now, of course, the angels, there's no way they could have said to Hashem, "Don't give them the Torah." As we know the whole discussion, Moshe says to them, what does it say in the Torah, right? It says about, shouldn't kill, shouldn't steal. He says, "You have any Yetzer Hara for that?" And Moshe shows the angels, Torah has to be for us. So how could the angels even have argued? But here, if you look carefully, it didn't say something tova genuza. It said chemda genuza. There's a physical aspect to Torah. Yeah, there's the physical aspect of Torah. Thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not steal, honor your father and mother. The realm of halacha, that's very physical. There's a physical aspect to Torah. And the angel said, we have no qualms with the physical aspect of the Torah. But the Torah comes with a complete package. It comes with the spiritual aspect, the part that transcends the words. He says, you're going to give him the whole kit and caboodle? Hashem said, yes. And that's the point. Even though Torah is tov, it's good. If you just follow the Torah on a simplistic level, it'll be a good life, a good physical life. But the spiritual component is the chemda. So what do we see over here? There is a revealed and secret aspect to Shabbos, Eretz Yisrael, and Torah. That's what we have. Now, the question is, how do we find it? And what is it? What's significant about it? Why does there have to be a secret part to this? So let's go again to the Torah where it talks about Shabbos, and we say this over Shabbos often. Shabbos is Beini uvein b'nei Yisrael, between me and the Jewish people. Os hi le'olam. It's an eternal sign that 6 days of the week Hashem made the heavens and the earth, and the 7th day he rested. What's this idea, Beini uvein b'nei Yisrael? What does that mean? Why don't we just say it's an os, it's a sign?
But there's a no between who?
Well, we're saying it, right? But let's see what the idea is. So we're going to quote you Rabbeinu Bachaya. We got it in Hebrew and we got it in English. Let's see if you can look at the English while I got the Hebrew here. V'lashon beini ubein b'nei Yisrael. What's this expression between me and the Jewish people? Moira al dever nister hanimtzer b'tzina. It's talking about something that's secret, concealed, that's given in secrecy. Because between me and you, just between me and you and the lamppost, I'm going to let you know the following, but don't quote me on it. Don't tell anybody else. It's hinting to the concealed aspect of Shabbos. If a king commands his son or his loyal servant, he says, if he says, remember the words between me and you, what does he mean to say? They're concealed. They're only spoken from mouth to mouth. It's not given over to be written. You see that? What you see what's happening here? This is the part of when we talk about Torah. There's the written Torah and the oral Torah. The written Torah is the revealed part. But the oral Torah really is the concealed part. It's concealed. Similarly, in every aspect, that's a secret. And therefore you find the fascinating statement of Rab Shimon Bar Yochai, the Zohar. He says, Hashem gave all the mitzvahs in publicly, except for the Shabbos, that he gave it them secretly. As it says, Beini uvein b'nei Yisrael. This is where Rabbeinu Bachaya got the idea. Rabbeinu Bachaya wasn't original, so to speak. He's getting this from the Zohar, from Shimon Bar Yochai in the Gemara. It was given privately because it says, Beini uvein b'nei Yisrael. Now, of course, the question is, what does that mean? How can you say the Torah, the Shabbos was given secretly? The whole Torah, especially the 10 Commandments, was given publicly. Michalowicz said Dibros is part of the 10 Commandments. All the nations heard the 10 Commandments. And he brings psukim to support this idea. He says, so what did the rabbis mean? What did Reb Shimon Bar Yochai mean by the underline? Allah inyan hanister sheba mitzvahs Shabbos, for the concealed aspect of the Shabbos. That he gave secretly. Therefore, he said that way. And it's interesting where you have the word, when the words say, Os hi le'olam. Look what it says. The word le'olam is derived from ne'lam, hidden. It's hidden. That's where Shimon Bar Yochai probably got the idea from. So you see, again, this idea, and that's why when you have the Medrash, when Hashem says, Moshe, I matana tovli yeshli beveis genos. I have a very special gift in my treasure house. Go inform the Jewish people. What do you mean, go inform them? Go inform them. It's a part of the Aseret Dibros. But there's more than just the physical aspect of Shabbos. The real gift of Shabbos is not in the physical part that we can feel and touch, in the part that's concealed. And that's the CHEMDAS of Shabbos. And that's what we're working on, this CHEMDAS Shel Shabbos. That's what we'd like to, coming into Shabbos every week. We want to try to find this CHEMDAS of Shabbos, this spiritual part that's so pleasurable beyond the physical part. So, of course, we have to give you a little bit of crumbles also, so it should be tov. We want the Shabbos to be tov, but we want also to be nechmad. CHEMDAS HAYOMIM. So, what we're going to look at for a little while is the Nusach Svard. I don't know if the Svardim have this. You could tell me. Right before Baruch Hu, Nusach Svard says Kigavna. Says two paragraphs. It starts with the words Kigavna. It's right. You don't say it. Okay. Anyway, let's take a little look at this history of Kagavna. I don't know if we're about to change our shul's nusach, although I'm very, very tempted to do it.
We did this 4 years ago.
I know. I keep saying to myself, I'm very tempted to do it. Okay. Now, what Kagavna is, it's really a piece of Zohar. It's a piece of Zohar. And if we trace the history of Kagavna, we find this is not a very old, relatively old prayer. It was not in the Kisvei Arizal. It was not during the times of the Arizal even. It was not there. It was not even during the time of the Baal Shem Tov. But we'll see what this is. So I found a little bit of research on this, and see, it all pops up. So 13 days after the Baal Shem Tov passed away, they undertook to write a siddur of the Baal Shem Tov's conduct. And in that siddur, it's not there. It's not even found in the Baal Shem Tov siddur. But you drop down a generation to the Mezritcher Maggid. The Mezritcher Maggid, it's reported, did the following. He told some students, like the Noam Elimelech, to start saying the prayer LeDavid Hashem Ori V'Yishi in Elul. This also is a relatively new prayer, LeDavid Hashem Ori V'Yishi. You're talking about the 1700s now, right? 1700s. And then he told but not to say, and while other followers, like the Ov Yisrael, he told them only say Kagavna, but not to say both. Why he did that, who knows? That's where it really started. Not until the Tanya, does the Tanya and Hiv Siddur have both. And really, if you understand what Kagavna is all about, it really speaks to all the tefillas, because all the tefillas of Shabbos are like that. I just said the Balatanya, so they must do it. They must be doing it. It's the Balatanya. They have both. Now, we find also that there are Ashkenazic Mikublan Kabbalists. And there were Mukubalim who also said it in the city of Brod. They did it over there as well. And they were Misnagdim, but they still said Kagavna as well. So it's interesting. There's sources, but it's a relatively early, late prayer. They tell over from the Kamarna Rebbe. He says, look over here, when I was in Lublin, and to see the Chosa of Lublin with my father. He says, I was Ben Tesha, I was 9. And the Chosa had a little room he came out, go right into his seat by the shtibel, all right, into the shul. So I said, when I saw the Rebbe, the Chosa go in, V'ra'isi ponav kilapidim. I would see his face would be like a torch. Ube'esha pasach adelos, when he opened the door, lomer kegavna, to say kegavna ra'isi eish milahateses al rosho. I'd see like a torch of fire on his head, v'or nifla, a wondrous light. That's the part. That's not the tov. That's the chemda. Okay, I got a little English on that. So what I want to do for a few minutes, even though we're not saying it, is to go through the Kagavna prayer and to pick out 5 specific points that the Zohar says. There's no Avera to say Kagavna before Shabbos. And the idea is to say it right before Borchu. Because when you say Borchu, as much as you may not see this, but 5 things are happening. And let's see if we can pick up what those 5 things are when we say the Kagavna. The Kagavna is in Aramaic, so good luck. We have enough trouble with Brich Shemei, but we got this. But I'll just tell you a little bit of what, just a simple translation, and maybe that's something, I don't know, we'll have to talk about if we want to go that way and take it. Okay, that's fine. This is whatever I was able to lift that goes easily on the computer, so you can all see this. The word kigavna means just as. Just as. That's the word kigavna. It's Aramaic. It means just as. Just as they, what are they? The 6 spheros. Chesed, Gvura, Tiferet, Esachod, Yesod. Now we know every day of the week is driven by one sephira. So Sunday is Chesed, Monday is Gvura, etc. So what do? The 6 spheros unite on Shabbos. So just like they unite above in oneness, so she, meaning what? The Malchus, because Shabbos is Malchus, is the final sphera. The Shechina unites below in the mystery of oneness to become one with those above. Listen, I have no idea what this really means, but we have to know that this is what's going on. One receiving one. The Holy One, blessed be He, who is one above, does not sit upon his throne of glory until she too, the Shekhinah, is transformed in the mystery of oneness, that they become one within one. This is the secret of God is one and God's name is one. Yud Kei Vav Kei, Echad, the 6 spheres above with Malchus. That's Echad. The mystery of Shabbos is Shabbos herself. She, the Shekhinah, is called Shabbos when she is united in the secret of oneness, that she may immerse in the mystery of one. This happens during the Marav prayers of the Shabbos. For then she, the throne of Kavod, is unified through the secret of oneness and becomes ready for the highest Holy One to descend upon her. When Shabbos comes, she enters into union and sheds the side of otherness, the Sitra Acher, the forces of negativity. All judgment and harshness pass from her, and she remains in union with the holy radiance. Whoa. She crowns herself with many crowns as she faces the Holy King. All the forces of anger and grievance flee, and there is no power but she in all worlds. Her face glows with a heavenly light, and she is crowned from below by the holy people who themselves, that's us, are enwrapped and crowned with new supernal souls, with nishmasin chadatin, with new souls. We would call in English the neshama yisera is in English is more revealed. Then their prayers begin by blessing her with bliss, with radiant faces as they call out Baruch Hu es Hashem HaMevorach. That's all happening before Baruch Hu. Let's just go over what are the 5 essential divine changes that occur. Now, the one we're going to focus on as we continue is the second one. It's going to be more of the focus. But just to know that one, the spheros that operate individually during the week are now united above and below. 2, the physical world is elevated and brought into the sphere of holiness. This is called Aliyas Olamos. The worlds down here are elevated. The Shekhinah descends and comes closer to this world. All powers of impurity and judgment disappear. And those Jews who observe Shabbos merit a new soul. In the Nigla, it's called Neshama Yisrael. Now, this is the Shabbos that Rabbeinu Bechaya, this is the secret that Rabbeinu Bechaya was referring to. And what we're going to hope to accomplish is to tell us that the 39 prohibited activities, what the Torah is telling you is there's 39 melachos that you do during the week. That's in the physical realm. So those 39 melachos you don't do on Shabbos. Why? Because the lower world is elevated to the higher world. But you do 39 melachos, but they're not physical melachos. They're spiritual melachos. And what we're going to learn is that just like there's an idea of borer, where you're selecting between your fish and your fish bones that you do during the week, on Shabbos you don't do that because you still select, but you select spiritually. And we no longer have to be engaged in all the work of the 39 days of the 39 melachos that we do during the week. During the week, we engage with the physical world. But then we got to take that physical world and bring it up to the spiritual realm. And therefore, I use 39 activities, but they're spiritual activities versus physical activities. And once we understand a little bit about that, then we're able to realize that it's not a world of don'ts, but rather I have to do 39 Melachos. I have 39 things to do on Shabbos, but they're spiritual activities. So it keeps me quite busy on Shabbos. If we'd understand this, it would give us a whole different understanding of what the Shabbos is all about. Okay, I figured I might have a couple, and then hopefully next week we'll talk about what a malacha is, and then we'll talk about each of the 39 malachas and how they are understood. We have another 2-3 minutes. I want to share with you a beautiful, quick idea, and I was hoping to be able to put it on the screen, but Hashem thought otherwise. From Rav Nissen Alpert, Zichrono Livracha, who was a Talmud Muvak of Rav Moshe Feinstein. And he explains the idea of the burning bush. Really, I should need a half an hour to explain it well. But those who are aware of Rabbi Chanan Wasserman's famous essay on Emunah, and how Emunah is something that even children can have, because it's just basic element of just seeing God in creation. And the challenge with people's belief in Hashem isn't an intellectual challenge, but it's a challenge that we are bribed by the physical pleasures of this world, which we talked about many times. So therefore, when Hashem wants to take the Jewish people out of Egypt, what is the first event that starts it all off? Is the burning bush, where Moshe goes over to the burning bush and asks, why does the bush not burn? Now, the famous question is, what do we care if he asks the question or not? He's going over to the bush. And Hashem's telling you, take your shoes off, don't come any closer. So what's the Torah telling us? And the Torah is telling us that we might think that, this is a very hard concept. The Torah, remember, Hashem tells them during bush, the Jews are going to receive the Torah. You can say, the Torah is heavenly. Only godly people like Moshe can understand the Torah. But the truth is, it's not so. What was the revelation that Moshe got? Moshe got a revelation by the bush. There was no great philosophy, no great deep ideas. He asked a simple question: why does the bush not burn? And he wanted to know the truth. And Hashem came to him. And what is this really telling us? That the Jewish people through history are like that bush. How the non-Jews, they can't stand us. We are thorns in their eyes, like it says in this week's Parsha. And we always are the sneh, boer ba'esh. We are looked at by the secular world as the lowly people. And we're always being burnt up with inquisitions, pogroms, Kristallnachts, Holocausts. But you know what? With all the fire, any bird brain could ask the following question: how come the sneh is being burnt, but it's not consumed? Why have the Jews not been consumed yet? Even if you're a secular Jew, but don't you have a little bit of brains like a 5-year-old? And don't you realize that you've been witnessing, history has been witnessing a miracle for 4,000 years, that no matter how hard they tried to destroy us, the childlike question, the 5-year-old can figure this out. Why are we still here when all they want to do is get rid of us? Where the whole UN condemns us. And unfortunately, it's going to now be the whole UN will be condemning us. And God forbid, there'll be many attempts to burn that sneh. So why should you believe in God? Because no matter what current events will happen, the sneh einena ukal. And that's the prelude to receiving the Torah. A 5-year-old can know it. You don't have to be a genius. Why do the Jewish people get burned up? Everybody's been trying to do it every which way possible. Must be just like there's a world that has an amazing design in incredible ways, but there's a history has a more incredible design. And why Hashem does all kinds of crazy things, we'll talk more about it tomorrow at the class. It could maybe bring a lot of fire. But the Jewish people, we are part of the miracle. We should look at ourselves. Each and every one of us is a sneh that's not being consumed. And that is all comes from a part of Torah that is hidden, the secret. And that's the secret of Torah. That's the secret of Shabbos. That's the secret of prayer. Okay, have a good Erev Shabbos, everybody. Shkoyach, thank you for coming. We should be zocheh to continue to do this.